My name is Amara, and I live on the wide Casito Plains with my husband, Tabo. He's what people here call a mud boot farmer, hands always busy with soil, heart steady as the seasons. Together we run a small maize and morena farm near Lake Nyara. Life is simple but full. We grow, we teach, we build. But everything shifted the day we went to my cousin's engagement in Makuta City. My sister Naledi swept in like a storm of perfume and glitter, heels clicking, phone flashing, filters ready. She owns a boutique on Mapalo Market and never lets anyone forget it. When she spotted Tabo, still wearing his sun hat, she laughed loud enough for everyone to hear. "So, Amara married a farmhand with a hat," she said. The crowd chuckled. My throat burned, but I forced a smile. Family, after all. Tabo didn't react. He just smiled the way he does when rain delays planting, calm, patient, sure the soil will still answer him. As we drove back at dawn, the sky pink over the plains, I watched him steer past sacks of seed and the solar cold room he'd built from scrap metal. His hands were clean but calloused, his mind full of plans. I realized then how easily people mistake quiet strength for smallness. In that moment, something shifted in me. The city had its shine, yes, but the soil had its own kind of wealth. And that's where the real story began. Harvest week always brings a kind of music to our farm, the hum of voices, the rustle of dry leaves, the sound of grain hitting the sacks. The air smells of sweat, dust, and something proud. Tabo walks through the fields with his usual calm, greeting everyone by name. He's not just picking maize, he's teaching. Teenage boys trail behind him, phones in hand, learning how to set up drip irrigation lines from plastic pipes and old barrels. He tells them, water is gold. Don't waste even a drop. They listen, not because he's their boss, but because he speaks with the quiet authority of someone who's worked the soil long enough to understand its moods. He pays everyone fairly, right there in the open, sending money through mobile transfer so no one waits or wonders. Some of the women from the co-op call him Walamu Wayudango, teacher of the soil. They laugh as they say it, but the respect in their eyes is real. We supply the local clinic with maize flour and the nearby school with morena powder for their feeding program. Seeing children eat porridge made from our crops feels better than any city award or social media post. When the day fades, we sit outside with our dusty tablet, logging every bag and updating receipts. The tablet may be cracked and old, but it holds our proof, our sweat turned into numbers. Each paid stamp on the delivery notes feels like a quiet victory. No bragging, no filters, just evidence of work done right. Some nights, while the crickets sing, we plan for the future. Tabo wants to build a solar mill using a second-hand solar array he found at a scrapyard. I tease him that he could make gold from rust if he tried. He smiles and says, not gold, flour. We talk about how the mill could help the co-op women save time and money, how our maize could feed more people without losing its value to middlemen. Our savings grow slowly, but every coin is clean. Honest. Earned. Sometimes I think back to my sister's laughter in Makuta City, her words echoing, just a farmhand with a hat. If only she could see what that farmhand really does. The boys he mentors, the women he empowers, the families who sleep with full stomachs because of his work. He doesn't wear suits or post selfies, but his hands build things that last. Under the soft moonlight, I watch Tabo close the ledger and lean back with that calm smile. His face is lined with sun and effort, but his eyes are bright. I realize then that the true value of a farmer isn't in the shine of his boots or the size of his field. It's in how he turns soil into hope, one seed at a time. And as the night settles over the plains, I know, this is the kind of wealth that no one can mock, and no drought can take away. The rains came early that year, heavy and endless, drumming on the roof like a warning. The farm was quiet one night when headlights cut through the dark. I stepped outside, half asleep, and saw a figure at our gate. It was Naledi. My heart dropped. She looked nothing like the woman from Akuta City who had once laughed at Tabo's hat. Her hair was wet, her mascara smudged, her expensive blazer soaked through. She stood shivering, clutching her handbag like it could save her. "Amara," she whispered, her voice cracking, "I need help. Please. I need $30,000, by Friday." The words hung in the air like thunder. 30,000. I couldn't speak. Tabo joined me, calm as always, his face unreadable. We brought her inside, wrapped her in a blanket, and gave her tea. As she warmed up, her story spilled out in broken pieces. Her boutique had gone silent for weeks, no customers, no sales. The glossy photos on her page had stopped. Bika, her fiancé, had vanished too, deleting his accounts and blocking her calls. Then came the eviction notice from her landlord. Suppliers had chained her stockroom door, and a lender from Chikondi Finance was demanding full repayment. She tried to sound confident. "It's just a short bridge," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I have an investor coming. He promised to send funds. He's landing next week." I wanted to believe her, but something in her tone wavered. Tabo asked quietly, "This the same investor who was landing next week, 6 months ago?" Naledi's eyes darted away. Silence filled the room except for the rain tapping the window. She spoke fast after that, words tumbling over each other. "You know I've helped you before, Amara. You're my sister. I just need this loan to hold things together. Once the investor arrives, I'll pay everything back. Please, don't let me lose everything." Tabo listened without interrupting, hands folded on the table. I saw the way he looked at her, not with judgment, but with the kind of patience he saves for a stubborn crop that won't sprout. I wanted to reach out and promise her the world, but my stomach tightened. $30,000 wasn't pocket change. It was years of savings, our dream for the solar mill, our safety net against bad seasons. Naledi's voice broke again. "You two live comfortably here. You can afford to help me. It's family." That word, family, carried both love and pressure. I looked at Tabo, waiting for his answer, but he only said, "Let's sleep first. Morning light makes better decisions." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake listening to the rain, thinking about how fast fortunes change. The same sister who once laughed at our muddy boots now sat under our roof, asking for rescue. Life, I thought, has a way of humbling even the loudest hearts. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the dust from the earth, as if preparing it for a new beginning. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the Casito Plains, painting everything gold, but inside our kitchen, the air was thick with tension. Tabo had already made up his mind, he wouldn't give Naledi a single coin without seeing her books. I brewed tea while the roosters fussed outside, their calls breaking the silence that none of us dared to fill. Naledi sat at the table, arms crossed, her phone buzzing every few minutes. When Tabo finally spoke, his voice was calm but firm. "If you need our help, we need to understand your numbers." Naledi sighed dramatically and pulled a folder from her bag. "Fine," she said, sliding over printed bank statements and screenshots of WhatsApp chats with people she called investors. Tabo leaned forward, adjusting his reading glasses, the same ones he uses to check irrigation data. He started flipping through the papers, quiet but focused. Within minutes, his brows tightened. "These invoices," he said, tapping the pages, "the VAT numbers don't match." Naledi rolled her eyes. "It's just a typo." He ignored the tone and kept going. "And here, this inventory list counts the same handbags twice. And this payment plan depends on selling the same stock to 2 different buyers." She shifted uncomfortably, her nails clicking against the table. I felt my heart sink. Tabo turned to another page. "This isn't a bridge loan, Naledi. The 30,000 isn't for restructuring your business. It's to cover a balloon payment and some consultancy fees. He paused, glancing at her. Who's this consultant? Naledi looked away. Just someone helping me fix things. Tabo's eyes softened but didn't waver. A fixer isn't a solution. It's a hole that swallows money. Her face flushed. You're not a banker, Tabo. You dig holes in dirt. What do you know about business? She snapped. The words stung the air. I felt the insult hit, but Tabo stayed still, his calm deeper than silence. He simply said, I know when something doesn't add up. Naledi pushed back her chair, her voice rising. You think you're better than me now? Just because your little farm sells vegetables to schools. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Tears burned behind my eyes. I wanted to remind her that Tabo wasn't trying to shame her, he was trying to save her from sinking deeper. But she was too angry to hear it. Tabo stood, collecting the papers. We can't give you the money, he said softly. Not like this. Naledi stared at him, trembling. You'd really let me fail? Your own family. He met her eyes. We're not letting you fail. We're asking you to face the truth. She stormed out onto the porch, the morning sun hitting her face like a spotlight. I watched her shoulders shake as she lit a cigarette, hands unsteady. Inside, Tabo quietly stacked her papers and whispered, You can't build anything solid on false numbers. And in that moment, I knew our family bond was about to be tested in ways we'd never imagined. That evening, the air was thick with tension, the kind that makes even the crickets quiet. Naledi sat on the porch staring at the fields, her face stiff with pride. I stood by the doorway, my heart torn in two. She was my sister, my first friend, my childhood partner in mischief, and now, here we were, divided by money and mistakes. I wanted to help her, but Tabo's words kept echoing in my head, you can't save someone by sinking with them. We called her to the table after dinner. The smell of maize porridge filled the room, and the lantern flickered between us. Tabo spoke first, steady as always. Naledi, we want to help, he said, but not with blind money. We have to protect what we've built. She folded her arms, already defensive. I took a deep breath and said softly, we'll help under certain conditions. Her eyes narrowed. Conditions? Tabo nodded. Yes. We'll give you the money if you sign a written plan. The boutique inventory and your Mercedes logbook will be the collateral. You'll also join our co-op as an employee for a while, earn a salary, learn how we handle cash flow. And our auditor will verify everything. For a moment, she just stared at us, stunned. Then she laughed, sharp and bitter. Family money shouldn't need contracts, she snapped. You act like strangers. Tabo didn't raise his voice. Business doesn't care about blood, he said. It cares about accountability. Naledi pushed her chair back. So you don't trust me? I tried to reach her with gentleness. It's not about trust, sis. It's about learning from what went wrong. We can't plant good seeds in bad soil. Her jaw tightened. You think your little farm makes you wise, she hissed. You forget who used to send you clothes from the city? The words cut deep, but I didn't answer. Silence stretched between us until her phone buzzed. It was Auntie Sifa calling from Dila Township. I could hear her voice through the speaker before Naledi even lifted the phone. Amara, what's this I'm hearing? You're letting your sister drown while you count your coins. What will people say? My hands shook, but Tabo gently placed his on mine. People can say what they want, he said quietly. We answer to truth, not gossip. Naledi ended the call and glared at us. Her pride was wounded, but behind her anger I saw fear, the kind that comes when the ground under your feet finally gives way. I reached across the table and said softly, We love you, Naledi. But love doesn't mean yes every time. She stood up, tears in her eyes but defiance still in her voice. You'll regret this. When she walked out into the night, I felt my chest ache, but there was also a strange calm. For once, we had drawn a boundary and stood by it. Like the soil after a storm, I knew something had shifted. Sometimes the hardest no is the one that finally allows something honest to grow. The next morning, the sky over Quito was bright, but my heart felt heavy. By sunrise, my phone started buzzing non-stop. I opened one message and froze. A gossip page from Makuta had posted, "Farmer's wife refuses to help her own sister, hoarding money while blood drowns." Another comment read, "So much for family values. All that maize and no mercy." My stomach turned. Pictures of our farm and even of me at a wedding were being shared with cruel captions. Tabo saw the posts but said nothing. He just tightened his jaw and went back to the fields. I followed him outside, watching as he checked the drip lines and filled baskets for delivery. His silence said more than words ever could. I knew he was hurt, not just by the lies, but by how quickly people judged. By mid-morning, a dusty car pulled up to our gate. A man in a suit stepped out, holding a brown folder stamped Chikondi Finance. My pulse quickened. He greeted us politely, then asked, "Are you Mrs. Amaranyara?" I nodded slowly. He opened the folder and handed me a paper. "Ma'am, this is a loan guarantee letter under your name." I read it once, then again, my hands trembling. It was my signature, but I had never signed it. It said I was the guarantor for Naledi's business loan, granting her an extra credit limit. My vision blurred. I felt cold all over. Tabo's voice was calm but sharp. "Who submitted this?" The clerk glanced at the paper. "Your sister, sir. About 3 months ago." When Naledi arrived later that afternoon, she already knew. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale. I held up the letter. "Why, Naledi?" My voice broke on her name. She started crying. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she said. "Bika told me it was just for formality. He said he needed your name to make the investor trust us." Tabo frowned. "What investor?" Naledi's words came fast, desperate. "He wasn't really an investor. He was a reseller bringing in perfumes from Dubai. But they weren't real, they were copies. The whole shipment got seized at the port. Everything collapsed. I didn't know what else to do." Silence filled the room. I couldn't find the right words. My own sister had forged my name, dragged me into her mess, and then tried to paint me as heartless. I felt anger, sadness, and pity all at once. Tabo finally spoke, his tone low and steady. "We'll help, but not with $30,000. We'll help you face this the right way. We'll go to the police, talk to lawyers, and clear Amara's name. But the money stays where it is." Naledi nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. For the first time, she didn't argue. She just whispered, "I didn't mean to ruin everything." I looked at her and said quietly, "Sometimes, sis, the truth costs more than any loan." And as the sun dipped over the fields, I realized our no wasn't cold, it was the only way to stay clean in a world full of quick lies. The weeks that followed were heavy. Makuta City moved on to new gossip, but the damage in Naledi's world stayed. Her boutique doors stayed locked, a "for rent" sign taped to the window. The mannequins inside stood like ghosts of her old life, dressed in bright clothes that would never be sold. Bika disappeared completely, his number off, his pages deleted. Chikondi Finance went ahead and filed their case, but after we submitted our statement and evidence, my name was cleared. The weight on my chest finally lifted. The investigation turned toward the real fraud, Bika and his fake investor scheme. Still, I couldn't feel victory. Only sadness. One evening, just as the sun was setting behind the fields, a small knock echoed on our door. When I opened it, Naledi stood there. No makeup, no perfume, no fancy clothes. Just a tired face and eyes that had finally stopped pretending. She looked smaller somehow, not in body but in pride. "I'm not here for money," she said quietly. "I need work." Tabo didn't say a word at first. He just looked at her for a long moment, then pointed to the open land beyond the gate. "There are 40,000 holes to plant before the rains," he said. "We pay weekly, same as everyone." For a second, Naledi just stared at him, not sure if he was joking. But when she saw he meant it, she nodded. "I'll start tomorrow." And she did. The next morning, she was in the field by sunrise, boots muddy, hands shaking from the cold. I watched from the porch as she bent over again and again, planting seedlings one by one. The co-op women whispered at first, surprised to see the former boutique owner working beside them. But after a while, the whispers stopped. Work has a way of humbling everyone equally. Day by day, I saw small changes in her. She began to smile again, not the practiced one she wore for selfies, but something real. She started learning about Morina yields, keeping notes in a little book Tabo gave her. She joined the co-op's evening classes on budgeting and cash flow. Sometimes I caught her laughing with the other women over tea, her hands still stained with soil. When the first harvest came, she helped package dried Morina leaves for the clinic, and the nurse there handed her a small envelope of cash, her first honest earnings in months. She held it carefully, like it was made of gold. At dinner that night, she said softly, "I used to think work like this was beneath me. Now I see it's what keeps people alive." Tabo smiled but didn't reply. He didn't need to. The respect between them was quiet, steady, and real. Naledi wasn't broken anymore. She was rebuilding, seed by seed, row by row. Pride hadn't disappeared, it had simply changed shape, turning into something stronger, respect, earned from the ground up. 6 months later, the sun rose over Casito Plains with a kind of quiet pride. The same $30,000 we refused to give away now stood tall in the middle of our farm as a new solar-powered mill and a grain storage silo painted with the words Nyara Co-op. Every time I saw it, I felt a deep warmth inside. That money hadn't been lost, it had simply grown roots in a better place. The co-op was thriving, the farmers were earning more, and the children at the local school were eating porridge made from our own grain. Naledi had changed too. She came to us one afternoon carrying a neat folder, her face calm and determined. Inside was a new business plan, no handbags, no fake investors, no borrowed shine. "I want to start small," she said, "school uniforms made by co-op women. No debt. Just clean books." Tabo nodded with quiet pride. He didn't need to say he was proud of her, it showed in his eyes. At the next village fair, Naledi stood on the small wooden stage, holding a microphone with steady hands. The crowd hushed as she spoke. "I once laughed at the dirt under Tabo's nails," she said with a smile, "but now I know, that dirt feeds cities." The crowd clapped, and I felt tears rise to my eyes. After the fair, she walked up to us and handed Tabo a crisp receipt, the first repayment for the small sewing tools we had advanced her. Behind her, children ate bowls of warm porridge made from our maize. The moment was simple but full. We didn't need speeches or pride, the truth was clear. Real success grows quietly, watered by honesty, hard work, and respect, for the soil, for people, and for second chances.